This Sri Ramchandra mission had a very humble beginning. It was based on the teachings Babuji Maharaj received from his guru, our Grandmaster Lalaji Maharaj, who took birth on this world in 1873. Babuji Maharaj went to him when he was 22 years old. And Babuji has said he met him only about 10 times throughout his lifetime. And during those visits, he seems to have grasped the very essence of those teachings, and which crystallized into what we know today as the Sahaj Marg system of Raja Yoga. It had no name during Lalaji's times. It is a fact that during Lalaji's times, many different approaches to divinity were offered by him, including old Indian methods such as puja, mantra, and temple worship, all sorts of things. It was Lalaji's thought that people should be permitted to initially go towards the goal by practicing what they had been born into, and later to modify it as they went along. Very much like a villager walks from his cottage or hut to the main road, takes a bus to the railway station, catches a train to Delhi, and takes a flight to Los Angeles. The destination is the same, but the way changes according to the availability of those times in those places. By the time Babuji Maharaj established the mission in 1945, it was crystallized in Babuji's mind into one single feature and became known as Sahaj Marg, the natural way, and sometimes loosely and perhaps in a state of wishful thinking translated as the easy way. The simple way it certainly is. So the right way of thinking of Sahaj Marg is the simple way, the natural way. Certainly, the simple is not always easy. It's easy to ride a bicycle, but it's not simple. Balance. I use the example of a bicycle because it takes quite some time for a beginner to learn how to balance himself on a cycle. Then there are these village performers on a tightrope stretched between, say, 10 meters of rope, and they balance on that single rope, using a long bamboo to balance themselves. Which means that for balance, you need two extended arms. In yoga, you have to maintain this balance by pulling in those arms until there are no two arms but only yourself. This self inside this self. No extensions in any direction. So you see, it becomes progressively more difficult, this question of a balanced existence. Because a man who can walk blindfold on a tightrope without extending even his arms would be a master, and none but him. When we were boys, my father bought a book of photographs. One of them shows a blindfolded man with a wheelbarrow on a wire rope stretched over, I think, the Niagara Falls. And he's taking the wheelbarrow from this side to that side. And you can imagine the difficulty, because as you come to the middle, you are going down, and then you have to actually go up, pushing a wheelbarrow now. Initially, you have to resist the pull of gravity. Now you have to oppose the force of gravity. And as you come to the top, you're tending to slip back all the time. Bicyclists know this. Therefore, when they come down a valley, they go at a tearing rate so that they need not pedal too much on the opposite side when they have to start going up. What of Sahaj Marg and the spiritual path? It is perhaps very difficult to the extent of being almost impossible. I say almost impossible because it's not impossible. We who are on the path know that if you rely on your own strength, on your own means of evaluating the way and its problems, its dangers, its obstacles, then you are going to face turbulence which will perhaps shake you to the core and throw you down almost to destruction. You know, when there is a steeplechase and you are riding a horse, you must know the horse and make it part of yourself so that a little, change in the pull in the reins or the grip of the legs, the thighs around the horse, and the horse takes the way naturally, easily, effortlessly. At that time, if you try to guide it, it could very well break its legs and your head. Why I give this example is here in Sahaj Marg, our mount is the master. He is to take us and we are to be taken. We should not try to guide the horse where we think it is dangerous and let it go where it is really dangerous, you see. Here we have to implicitly trust the mount, which is also our guide, upon whom we have to put 100% faith, to the extent that we are prepared to be blindfolded and let the horse take us where it will go. So you see the three examples of the bicycle, the tightrope walker, and the person who is doing a steeplechase, cross country. They are very important. And using these, you can easily tell abhyasis or prospective abhyasis what Sahaj Marg is all about. Sahaj Marg is not about winning the race. Unlike steeplechases, bicycle races, it is about getting there, completing the course. The time taken is not important. Because if your horse falls and breaks its leg, it is short. It's put to sleep, as they say. Because a fallen horse, a horse with a broken leg is of no use to anybody. They're expensive horses. Our master is not expensive at all. We pay nothing for his upkeep. We don't feed him. We don't maintain him. We don't pay anything for his teaching. We pay nothing at all for him to take us by hand and take us to our destination. All that is necessary is for us to submissively go with him, never letting go of his hand. And yet, we have this unfortunate phenomena of human obstinacy, human stupidity, human arrogance and pride, human ignorance, and last but not least and most tragic, lack of real human self-interest. Self-interest with an S capitalized. We have all self-interest, which is really selfishness. We want to acquire, we want to hoard, we want to amass, we don't want to give. Babaji Maharaj said we have a duty to put back into circulation in this world at least what we took out of it. In other terms, Babaji Maharaj said, you must leave the world at least as good a place you came into when you leave it. Though as a person who has a sense of duty will leave it at least a modicum better than he found it when he arrived. When we say the world, we mean the railway carriage when you leave it, your hotel room and the bathroom when you leave them, your bedroom when you get up in the morning, and for the ladies, their kitchen when the cooking is over. They're all part of the world, and therefore it's a world. A woman cannot say, but my world is confined to the kitchen. It's very much your world. Spick and span, bright and shining, everything in its place, hygienic, for health, for well-being, and for a good spiritual life, and a happy companionship full of what? Harmony and love. So you see how Sahaj Marg demands of us nothing more than these humble, simple prescriptions which we can easily follow. We follow rules on the golf course. Don't tear up the grass when you try to tee off. Don't ignore the simple rules of look where you hit, or you might murder a player. Use the proper club. And most of all, pay your fees to maintain your membership of the club in time. Here also some rules apply. Love him who loves all is the paramount rule. It concentrates our attention solely on the master. He loves all, therefore we love him. Because it's almost impossible to love everything in the universe. Isn't it? You can't love dinosaurs and alligators and those dreadful things known as dragons, whether real or mythological, because people do get nightmares from looking at dragons, even in children's comic books. So they're effective. The other rule is love all whom he loves. Like in a family of 10, we have 8 siblings. They must love each other because mother loves them all. And in fact, we love them only because mother loves them all. Mother says, come on, he is your brother. Isn't it? As long as the mother is alive, whatever may be the differences among the children, they stay close together as one family. The mother disappears, the family scatters, because there is no center to that wheel. It doesn't know where the wheel is rotating, where it is going, one moment in this direction, one moment in this direction. Like one of those wheels, you let out on the beach. It goes this way, this way, this way, and finally lands up in the ocean. That's what happens to most families. In the very first generation, we lose touch with each other, especially in today's world, where, to earn our bread, and if I may say so, much more than the bread and butter and the jam, we wander over the face of the earth, which was a curse in ancient times. And thou shalt wander the face of the earth, homeless, tribeless, and without a guide. So wandering over the face of the earth is really a curse. One who is happy, fulfilled in his life, contented with what he has, stays in one place. The others are like cattle, moving from patch of grass to patch of grass, and the grass is always greener yet a little ahead. And if they're not careful, the wolves take them, the lions take them, the tigers take them, metaphorically speaking. So you see, staying put in one place is a very congenial, natural state of human welfare, human well-being, human existence. Wandering the face of this earth is, in a certain sense, like being an outcast in the eyes of God. This is not a criticism, but I am only explaining to you what our ancients thought of life, how they taught us contentment, how they taught us to remain fixed Because when you are fixed, your mind is fixed, your consciousness is fixed, your whole being is fixed. Familiarity breeds contempt applies to interpersonal relationships. Familiarity brings honor, respect, comfort, and well-being. I believe applies to places where we live. I told you the other day a story of three brothers who were sent out of their kingdom when the father died. And now one found contentment, whereas the two other brothers became one powerful, one very rich. And when they all met again after 25 years, the powerful man wanted the riches of the other brother, and the other brother wanted the power of the other man, and each was trying to decide how to do it by killing off the other. Prosperity breeds hatred, animosity, and most of all, separation. I have seen families where out of 5 brothers, one is enormously rich, one is very well educated, one is a craftsman, and the other 2 are good for nothings. The good for nothings should normally have love and compassion from the elder brothers, but all they have is contempt. Those fellows are still living here, Mummy? Yes. What can I do with them? You 3 know how to manage your lives. Poor fellows, if they go out, they will die on the streets. Mother has compassion. Mother has feeling. Mother has love, you see. Love gives you the ability to be compassionate, to have the feeling, and to go by them, not by some intellectual idea of how you should treat useless people. Nowadays, we send off our old age homes if they are lucky, or as they say in the US, have them institutionalized. Put them in an institution. It is again one of those, what should I say, cover-ups. What is the grammatical term for such cover-ups? Euphemisms. Instead of saying put them away in a lunatic asylum, you know, it's strange, lunatic asylum became loony bin, and now they are institutions. Institutions not for the mentally retarded, but for the mentally challenged. And what is the challenge in which they have obviously lost? That they have lost in their war for love from the family. They have lost in their attempt to gain compassion from the family. That they have lost ultimately in being thrown out of the family. But yet they have managed to retain a little merciful attitude from that family, in that they are paying for the institution in which they have been institutionalized. This is the fate of the old. What of the fate of the young? The babies for which they crave, for which they wait. Very often, once the baby is born, whether out of marriage or within marriage, it is unwanted. It is put in a creche. From day one, it has to sleep in its own cradle in a separate room. With this modern convenience of a microphone, when the baby lets out a squeak, the mother hears it in the next room, in the comfort of her bed, with her co-bedder. She is snugly warm and he is snugly comfortable, enjoying the bliss of married, wedded life. She runs to the other room. And the husband curses the baby. For heaven's sake, stop that sniveling. When it is older, it goes to school alone. And when they are 12 or 13, like in the lion's pride, in the lion and the pride of a lion, a male cub, when it is 1 year old, it is chased out because it is viewed as a possible competitor for the favors of the females. From 1 to 4, these cubs wander alone. And when they are 4 years old, they come back to challenge the father. They don't know father-son relationship. They are merely animals. But here is a male the top of his pride. And here is a challenger who wants that pride. Pride physically, pride metaphorically, pride symbolically. I want my pride, says this cub. Who is he to challenge me? There starts the war. And a few years later, the old lion king is thrown out. The young cub, now 6 or 7 years old, is the male pride of that pride. This happens in our human civilization today. 12 or 13, the father says, son, you should be taking care of yourself. You contribute nothing to the family. So the son has to earn and bring something to remain at home. Or he says, goodbye, mummy, doesn't see his dad and walks out. Of course, to such treatment, we owe a lot in the name of civilization because they have done things which they would not have done had they been docile, loving children at home. They go out, they face danger, they have adventures in all realms of human life. They enjoy paternity much before they are adults. They go on voyages, paying for their passage by working for it. They go where no man has ever gone before, according to Star Trek. But on the other side, such children only call the mother, Mom, how are you? And 15 minutes, 20 minutes of heartbroken conversation on both sides, because the child can never let go of the mother. And the mother cannot let go of sonny boy. Finally, when they have said enough, and she says, would you like to speak to dad? He says, oh, for God's sake, Mom, and puts the phone down. Can we have any surprise on the world situation today? This being the merely human relationship within the family. Given this as a datum, as a sort of a base for human behavior, is there any surprise that governments are composed of such people who take every obstacle as a danger to be eliminated, not to be dealt with, not to be pacified, not to be overcome, eliminate, kill? And the proudest, most powerful nation of all has the proudest, most aggressive, most dangerous government of all. And the world is at threat today because of this combination of pride, hatred, arrogance, fear, all held in the clutches of power. And that power says, kill, kill, kill. Our mission is founded solely, exclusively, with the only purpose of bringing peace on earth and goodwill to all men, the old Christian, shall we say, hope, by tackling each individual severally. We cannot change the world with one abracadabra. It's not possible. The world can be changed only by changing each individual heart, so that, as Babuji put it so succinctly, an animal, human being, becomes a human beings, and then only he can start his march to civilization as we know it, which is a divine existence on earth. As distinguished from a divine existence in God's realm, which we attained after the culmination of this voyage. So you see, Sahaj Marg has nothing to do with world affairs per se. But it is very much part of the attack on the world affairs by trying to transform it bit by bit. You know, small societies of Abhyasis. And like a stone dropped into a pond will have its ripple going infinitely out. Every abhyasi, wherever he is, if he is effective, he is true to his life, his own welfare, physical, mental, moral, spiritual, he will create waves in that place where he is, and they will touch other human hearts around him, with or without his knowledge, and certainly without their knowledge. That is how our centers begin, how they grow, how they expand, and eventually become, for example, like our Madras Center here. When I joined the mission here, I was the fourth man in the Madras Center. First, there was Mr. Veeraraghavan, our preceptor, and one other gentleman. Two, then a third man joined. Three, my father joined. Fourth, I was the fifth. Today we have about 8,000 or 9,000 members only in Madras and surrounding areas, suburbs. It has taken from 1964 to 2004, 40 years. Yes, so what? Some people live 120 and they don't become wise. Not everything grows on a time-bound scale or a timetable. We only say thank you when it happens. Thank you, God, we say, because without God, nothing will grow. Even spiritual giants owe their existence to God, owe their saintliness to God, and their existence itself to God. So Sahaj Marg is an individual approach, using an individual to transform him and him to transform his society or wherever he goes within the orbit of his influence, his existence. Like the sun has its existence to mainly look after the solar system. It is not concerned with the outer reaches of our galaxy, the home galaxy. It doesn't have that power. That is the job of another sun, wherever it may be, to give energy to these subsidiary suns, which have their own individual systems, planetary systems, called by a solar system on this earth. We don't know what else where. So you see, the divine life is organized around a center, and it has, shall we say, lesser centers around it. And they each have their own lesser centers around that. And each of them have lessers around them. And down to where we are, each human being becoming a center first for his own existence, because as long as we are centered, says the English language, which is a very valuable hint to what we have to become, centered within myself. Now myself is wandering, it has no purpose. It's like a cow, grazing on an open courtyard or open farm, hither and thither. I have to become centered. I have to become like a gyroscope, turning on its own center. Then others begin to turn around me. See. Then each of them, like the moon, like Venus or Jupiter, they have their own moons. See. So from major system of one center to subsystems until we come to the outermost reaches of these centers. And Babuji Maharaj has revealed to us that this center, original center, unseen center, unknown center, towards which everything has to go, governs the other centers, and our earth has the benefit of being directly connected to that center. You understand the importance of our earth. It is the only lesser egg directly connected to that cosmic egg, which is what Brahmanda means, and no other. And with this, shall we say, privilege, this choice of the great to bestow us with all that is good, the plenitudes of life, the power to transform ourselves and others, we are using our power to destroy ourselves and destroy others. So Sahaj Marg demands that the principle of inverted come into operation, and with the flip of the coin, head must become tail, or tail must become head, better. I must be a man with my head held straight, pointing in the right direction, with the brain doing its proper purpose inside, with the heart beating inside me, sending out waves of love, compassion, mercy, brotherhood. Then I'm a true man, true to the salt I eat. This is what that ancient saying means. And this above all, to thine own self be true. Such a one is that picture, or of a man holding his eyes in his hands, blindfolding himself, afraid to look outside himself, more afraid to look within himself, and therefore they are candidates for suicide. Generally, life ends like that. A suicide is one who can go neither inside nor outside himself. We may have so many medical, psychological explanations, but they only describe a state of mind, not the cause for that state of mind. The cause is the ultimate despair of, oh Lord, I know not where to go, neither towards thee nor away from thee. I hope I can give myself a chance by destroying this, which has brought me to this culmination in this life, hoping for another beginning in the next life. If he has time to listen to the Lord's voice, it will say, stop, my son, for doing this. You shall deny forever your approach to me. Of all the ways available to human beings to escape reality, suicide is the most awesome, the ultimately self-destructive path. So Babuji said years ago that this evil of suicide is invading our world in India. And he actually gave work to one preceptor of those days, saying, I want you to try to work to stop these suicides. Babuji gave work to different people, advanced preceptors. One had to look to the suicide, try to stop it, reduce it first and prevent it. Second, to deter people from temple worship by changing their minds, not by reviling temple worship, not by defiling churches or breaking them down, not by, corrupting or criticizing other religions. None of these things can work, as we have seen. The ancient wars between the Muslims and the Christians achieved nothing. The war between the Hindus and the Muslims has not achieved anything. The recent wars, called ethnic wars in Yugoslavia, have achieved nothing. In future, too, they will achieve nothing. And you have these political wars, which are only religious wars transformed into politics. Democrats versus Republicans. It is a religious war. Democracy, as practiced by the Democrats, and what a Republican, I don't know who's a Republican. I know what a publican was in the old days. Who is a Republican? Depends on what you think today. So they are really wars, internecine wars, each trying to oust the other. There is no victory in politics. There is no success. There is a, for the moment, apparent victory to be off-seated or unseated in the course of the next 4 years. Temporary wars for temporary victories. And according to the American slogan for success, a war to end all wars. So you see, we are in a very troubled world where unless each and every individual can look into himself, find the violence that is raging outside within his heart, find the hatred rampant in the world in his own heart, for his brother, for his neighbor, for the other person, find that guilt which is transparently in every human heart today and clean these out. You cannot overcome them. Clean them out. Like you don't overcome a dirty house, you know. You clean that house with a brush, with a broom, with water, with soap and water if you want, or even by using a grinding stone to polish the floor, which has been defiled by 10 years of filth. Only cleaning will help. It's no use having synthetic, or what do you call it, sterile. It's no use having a sterile life. Washing your hands with expensive soap every time you go to relieve yourself of your bladders, full charge. It's no use. People who never wash are living happier in our villages. They don't wash hands every time they untie their chandis. Religiously scrubbing every time. So. On the contrary, we wash after we eat. Everybody else in the world, they suck their fingers, will wipe it off on a tissue and throw it away. Very expensive. When they cook, we see it every time on a movie. So we know we Hindus are often afraid to eat in Western households. We don't know how many times that finger has been dipped into that soup and sipped, you know, and the saliva introduced back into that soup. When we drink water like this, we consider it unhygienic because other lips have touched the glass. Therefore, we drink this way. But today it is changing. It is taken as a sign of brotherhood that we share each other's glass. In the Middle East, you share each other's hookah. You know? 6 people suck at it, and God knows what each pair of lips brings to it. It's all right for Omar Khayyam to praise a newly born tulip and saying what fair lips brought those tulips into being. Okay, that is after the lip has been purified, transformed, ground back into the 5 elements of nature, and God created a tulip out of that rubbish. But these still living lips. So you see, cultural, shall we say, tolerances become more and more difficult. The more and more we remain orthodox. So either we give in and we also start licking and saying, yes, wonderful, and then dip it and put it into another mouth and say, now see how it is. That is not done yet. So today's brotherhood depends on 6 people eating out of the same plate. I mean, we are all brothers and sisters. I remember once I was in Madurai conducting a satsang, and one upstart of an abhyasi stood up and asked a question. You are fixing up so many marriages without consideration of any community, caste. Have you ever married a Brahmin girl off to a Muslim, this, that, and the other? I said, why? He said, no, I want to ask about tolerance of Brahmins for other communities. I said, have you given your daughter in marriage to a Muslim? And he became angry. He said, I wanted an answer, not another question. I said, well, your answer to that question would have been your answer to your own question to send to me. If you could answer this question honestly, it would also be an answer to the question you asked of me. The answer is the same. Of course, he didn't leave the mission. He's still there, much chastened, much improved, but yet that little corruption of, you know, what my father used to say, the iron has entered his soul. The iron has entered his soul, and it is, you know, becoming rust inside. Soon it will turn into gangrene, I don't know of what, if it doesn't change quickly. So you see, there are other ways of showing our love for each other than eating out of the same plate, sucking the soup all together and saying, wow, how wonderful the soup is today. But don't you think it requires a little more garlic? Oh, yes, yes, I think you are right, a little more garlic. Then everybody dip their fingers all over again. Now wonderful. Cleanliness, hygiene are different from and do not need manifestations of closeness by licking each other's lips, each other's fingers, and I don't know, licking each other's toes. There is a distinct confusion here between the needs of friendship and brotherhood and the needs of hygiene, and most important, the needs of spirituality. You know, Babuji would never use a towel or a dhoti which had been used by anybody else. He would not sleep on anybody's bed. But there was one time in my house when he came without his own clothes, and when he went to the bathroom and he took my towel. I said, Babuji, it's dirty. He said, your towel can never be dirty. Can we attain that state? Are we trying for it? He's just merely sending it to a high-class laundry, a $6 shirt for a $15 wash. Cleanly ironed, spick and span, collar stiff. You wear it and say, chief executive gets into his car to drive off, and he is happy, you see. Yes, yes, it's hygienic, you know, it's washed in ETA Plus. Who knows what ETA Plus is? Because the laundry says the clothes are here washed with ETA Plus. In another, it is ETA Plus. In another, it is Novel Alpha Plus. Whatever. This is modern hygiene, modern sense of well-being. The more expensive the suit, the better I am dressed. Though in color, in texture, it's all the same. Armani suit, $7,500, you know, and a British low-end suit costing, I don't know, today it's £100 at least. When I was in England on my first visit, in Burton's, you could buy a nice jacket for £7. The sheep are the same, the wool is the same, everything is the same. Where goes all this money that is now growing? That £7 jacket is today costing £250. You know, I walked into Scotch House about 4 years back, and the first jacket I chose was the one I wanted, and it fit me. Unthinkingly, I said I will take it. When I went to sign the bill, it was £475, just a jacket, tweed jacket. I have this habit, you know, of not asking the price, very much ego. That, I suppose, is my astrological background of being born a Leo. Every time I take up a Leo, you know, these prophecies, what do they call them? Predictions, annual. Leos are arrogant, proud, selfish. I read it, and for a moment I'm chastened. But put me in a shop and it all comes out. Fortunately, only there, I hope. We have to get rid of all this, you see. When Babuji says, use the resources of nature sparingly. Wool is a resource of nature. Cotton is a resource of nature. Paper is a resource of nature. I've already spoken sufficiently, carpingly about tissues. How they have affected our behavior, even with women in the Western society, you don't have to imagine. They are also to be used and thrown away. You know, I beg to be excused for referring to this very unsavory topic in lecture after lecture, but it is the truth. Entice, use, destroy. So we have to start with the individual. You cannot transform a society. Sahaj Marg never claims to transform societies. Least of all the world, least of all the universe. I know we have Abhyasis who boast about Sahaj Marg, and they say with a blink of the eye, my master can transform the whole universe. It's not correct. No master could, no master can, no master ever will, unless it is by destruction. Once Babuji offered to give me the highest power ever bestowed on man, matching very nearly the powers that he had. I said, no, please don't. He was amazed. He said, why? Why do you refuse? I said, Babuji, you are a man of patience. You love humanity. You love the world. You love all life. I am not created like you. And forgive me for saying it. You have not made me, in this respect, at least like yourself. Because if you give me such power, I will transform this world by destroying it and recreating it. 1 minute's job. I am not going to sit here for 56 years like you, puffing away at your hookah and wondering what to do next, and appealing to Lalaji Maharaj every 3rd minute. Lalaji, Sahib, what shall I do? I mean no disrespect, but that is the temperament. And I still find it very irksome to keep Abhyasis in my presence who have no respect for humanity, no regard for life, no regard for their guru, no obedience. They are there just for the fun and pleasure of going home and saying, I was with him for 6 days and always in his presence. I had breakfast with him every morning, lunch with him, only dinner sometimes he used to send me away. I know this, but what to do? I have to say, Father, forgive me for not having more tolerance, more love. But please bestow these things on me, because what I lack, I cannot create for myself in myself. So you see, my guru has to work on me. I have to work on you all. And in your time, you have to work on others. They have to work on the next generation and so on. It must go. If it goes successfully, it will last into the future. If it does not, there ends Sahaj Marg. One chop of the guillotine. No, like that poor French princess who lost her life because she said, give them cakes when they had no bread. Marie Antoinette. So Sahaj Marg, its future depends on every one of us, our Abhyasis, very much like the future of the world itself depends on every one of us. Every person who can cooperate with the master and change himself or herself will contribute to change in the world, not otherwise. In fact, I would say Sahaj Marg and what it is and what it will be is a reflection of the universe and what it will be in the future. If this goes ahead, marching solemnly forward with confidence, hope and faith, the world too will march with the same confidence, hope and faith. If this is going and stumbling with despair, the world will stumble with despair. If this is stopped, that will stop. This is one aspect of the parallelism of nature which Clark wanted me to speak about the other day, but which I cannot expatiate upon today. That is why I have these two young fellows sitting near me. They have big roles to play in the future with this mission and with themselves. You know, it's not for nothing I am exposing them to you today. Saying he is my successor is only a mere, shall we say, verbal outpouring. He is my son is a similar thing. Until they are true to the respective roles that they have to play, both within themselves, for themselves, by themselves, and with the mission, for the mission, by the mission, for all humanity. And in this, none of you is excepted. That you are not here does not mean you are an exception. You all share the same responsibilities. If you want to share the success, that will come into Sahaj Marg by way of achieving this transformation, devoutly to be wished. If not, we shall share the fate of all common human beings and go into non-existence, unheard, unsought, unwept.
For me, I have observed in myself also that when I am near you, the world is a different place because your sun is shining upon me and everything shines along with it. The reality also is that you have lit this lamp within me and it is glowing hopefully. But there seems to be a membrane which is between this inner brightness and the outer brightness, which is what really is the limiting factor. Is this samskara, is this ego, is this attitude?
This membrane is present in all. It is plain and simple, it is the ego. Because we go on cleaning and samskaras are getting cleaned off. But this ego makes us create more samskaras. So the cleaning becomes like the cleaning of the audience stables, for instance. Never clean, always being cleaned. So ego has to go before progress can be more rapid, more sure, and advancing us towards the goal. It is the same with all human beings.
It's the same thing between two human beings also.
Yes, but the ego is what governs interpersonal relationship. I am better, he is a fool, this sort of thing, I am richer, Armani suit. I will give you the example, going in a limo. Yesterday, somebody made a very disparaging remark about a limo. We were talking about the Continental town car, and he said it is now used only for limos. I thought limo was the be-all and end-all, the summum bonum of cars. But this man, just waved it away and said, oh, only fit for limos. So you see, limos are constructed out of graveyard cars, I think. Cut into two, pasted together. What, Mr. Santosh? You are the man who remarked, So I'm amused when I hear such things. So this membrane, the bee's web, the spider's web, has been found by science to have the toughest fiber. That you can break it is not an indication of its strength. That is because it's so thin. Santosh, have you heard that? Toughest fiber is used by this spider in spinning its web, and it comes out of itself. And it is meant for trapping other animals to be killed and eaten. We have also a similar tough fiber coming out of us, you see. And we have our own webs of deceit, of lies, of egoistic tendencies, of cheating, all of which is dealt with by the Christian Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this, So all this applies, in my mind, to the spider's web which each one of us evolves from within himself. We lay traps all the time for poor animals in jungles which can't recognize a trap. We lay traps for people who are our betters, how to cut the earth beneath their feet. In warfare, we lay traps. In love triangles, they have traps. Where are there no traps? The human being survives with two: enticement, entrapment, and destruction. You see, first enticement, all the positive signals. Then entrapment. Then, so how are we different? Animals are straightforward, A deer is running, the lioness is waiting, three of them run, chatak, chatak, chatak. It's an open, free-for-all. no disguise, and no what shall we say, dishonesty. The deer knows why it is being followed, not for a loving kiss. And the lioness knows why she is following, to gobble up. In human beings, there is this perversion of the principle of inverted where the good is exchanged for the bad. So we receive the good and give back the bad. Very often. From the world, from human beings, from the animal kingdom, from the vegetable kingdom, everywhere. And I think it is in the Bhagavata Purana where there is a famous statement by Lord Krishna that man exists on things which are given to him by birds, beasts, and vegetable kingdom. Water is given to you by rain and the river. Vegetables you take from plant leaf, flowers, fruit. And what do you give back? Not even a thanks, You don't say thank you, cow, after milking it. You give it an injection to make it yield more liters. I'm told in Japan or wherever it is, they feed animals with chopped up meat, mashed meat. What do you call it? I don't know. Offal from the abattoirs to make them fatter. So meat fed to a cow which is a vegetarian animal, for that meat to be eaten. Once one of the directors of an English firm we were associated with was traveling with me by car. We stopped at a village, he wanted to look at something. And in villages there have no toilets. This street side was used as a toilet. He stepped on some human excreta. And he said, oh God, he was upset to the extreme. And he said, I just bought these shoes for 200 pounds or something like that. And he said, I'll have to throw them away. I said, but you could just wash them. We do it all the time. And he said, oh, you live in a land which is nothing but this. I said, yet you come to visit it. With two cameras, one black and white, one color. Paying large amounts of money for guides, for hotels. He had no answer. And in villages, they use the dung of cows to make even into something like a papad with straw in it, dried in the sun, for fuel. And it cooks food as well as your butane gas from cylinders in Europe and America, without any lethal qualities associated with it, stored safely. If perchance it should catch fire, there's no danger. Whereas if your butane gas cylinder in some of these rich homes, where the cylinder is half the size of this stage, should burst or catch fire, God help that family. So we are able to generate energy using the products of nature itself, so far successfully, you see. Whereas, I was in Germany, and one preceptor was driving the car, we were going together, and there was the smell of cow dung. I said, how come this smell is here? He said, oh, they're spraying. I said, spraying? So German technology has removed the smell, offensive to human nature, human noses, by dissolving the cow dung in huge vats and spraying it. But the smell goes with the cow dung into the water, and with the spray it is let out into nature where it belongs. Poor fellow, he couldn't answer my question. Even in Germany, you see, first we seek to overcome it, then we hide it. No, in Germany we have no cow dung smells, Chariji. Yes, but this, it's being sprayed. Simple answer, only an Indian can't understand it. So you see, membrane. The membrane that this is a clean country, so everything must be clean, even if it appears dirty. I gave you the example of an American household where they put their filthy sneakers into the wash with their clothes. And they said, sneakers in the wash? They said, but the machine cleans everything, Charlie. So I thought in an emergency, if the toilet was occupied, you could very well sit on the washing machine and have it cleaned. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but of life, I have garnered them from my travels all over, you know. And it is inescapable. These things are inescapable because, again, this very fine membrane. You know, membranes are very useful. Like the lung is a membrane which allows oxygen to pass through one way and carbon dioxide from inside to pass through this way by the process known as osmosis. So membranes have their utility. But this membrane allows you to take in nothing because you feel, I know everything, I am everything that I should have been, and I am better than even the best. And it will not allow this thing to pass out. It's a one-way trap. All the self-importance, self-pride, self-acquisition, everything going in, allowing nothing to go out. When the poor man or girl wants to transform herself, the membrane says, but you know, without me you would be nowhere. You would not have a dominating position among your friends. You would not dominate your circle. But the inner voice says, but to what effect? I have no friends. I have only pretenders who are thinking they are my friends or who are trying to make me think they are their friends. What about the rich? They come for purposes of their own. They want me to work for them. What about the poor? They come to me only for what I can give them. There is no fair exchange. There is no exchange of that virtue and what is human called love. Everybody comes to me, but nobody loves me. That is the ultimate cry of the egotistic person who has climbed the ladder of success but dies friendless. What shall it avail of a man who shall lose his own soul but gain the whole world? Or put it the other way, what shall it profit a man who shall gain the whole world but shall lose his own soul? So such people lose their soul, but they have 17 houses, 24 yachts, hundreds of girlfriends, Bank of America, Bank of Switzerland, Swiss Bank, Bank of Tokyo, accounts everywhere, millions transferred every day here and there, expensive diamonds like Richard Burton bought for Elizabeth Taylor, 4.5 million diamonds. No love. $4.5 million given to make use of a body for an extended term, of which body Richard Burton is said to have said, the legs are too short. It's on record. No body has balance. We don't expect bodies to be balanced in Sahaj Marg. That I must walk erect, I must never totter, I must never stumble. No, the body will have. As you grow older, these tendencies will increase for unbalance. We are talking of the balanced inner existence, where inside me I am, to repeat what I said at the beginning, self-centered, not self-acquisitive, not self-conscious, not self-loving, self-centered. And with that self-centeredness, you know, I can radiate on all 360 degrees, this way, this way, this way, any way you like. That which is within the divine presence, its grace and its illumination.
जानकी ना